The world changes so quickly, and I have seen so many world, the liberation, and then there is a turbulence, the left, right, the fighting struggles, lots of violence, so many people killed or yes, imprisoned, and that sort of things. And then another world, the North Korean occupation of the whole country. And we lived under occupation of North Korean army. That was a new world, another world. And then after 2 months, something like after 2 months, another world. Then the Americans and the South Koreans came. That was another world.
All with different languages and requirements coming in, I guess. And
yeah.
My friend Kim Kyung-jin, he lived during that time, and he said that he survived by teaching North Korean patriotic songs in Seoul.
Oh yeah, we learned it then. Yeah, I still remember. I can still sing North Korean, the military song, and the song in praise of the great leader Kim Il Sung and this sort of things. Yes. Their songs were quite nice. Very, much better than South Korean military songs. But also mostly Japanese style, Japanese military style.
Yeah.
So
that was a very strict I was surprised to learn that in Japanese education, he told me that they sort of had to face Tokyo and bow and every day.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
almost sort of like Muslims facing Mecca.
Yeah,
They had to do that.
Koto to the Shinsa, in Shinsa, Shingung. And there was a big Shingung in Namsan. So
right.
midday, everybody has to, when they are in the streets, they have to bow for some time and then it's released. But according to my mom, my father never did that. Many of his friends ultimately cooperated with the Japanese and making speeches for the Korean youth to volunteer and join the Japanese army, etc. My father never did that. He never gave a penny to the Japanese military. His friend, like Kim Sung-soo, they did. They donated money. They had to. They were compelled to do that. But somehow my people like Chang Dok-soo, Yeon-young all cooperated with the Japanese. And my father somehow evaded all that. Never give a penny. Never gave a penny to Japanese war effort. The excuse was giving Japanese Air Force one more plane and that sort of things. My father never gave. And it's all later published in how some Koreans collaborated with the Japanese. My father's name never appears in. They published a very big book, but
there's websites and applications now where you can access it, isn't there? Yeah.
My father's name never appears in the book.
네.
사인을 좀 받으려고.
와.
완전 기대하고 있었습니다, 우리 사장님이.
그걸 어디서 찾았어요? I have a very slim, vague memory of living in Seoul, but I remember very vividly a train trip to Hanpyeong. We call it 소개한다. And yes, I remember very vividly the living atmosphere, living in that fishing and farming village. My father had a large patch of land reclaimed from the sea. So we had a rather comfortable life there. We didn't suffer shortage of food because the farming village was much better than the cities at that time. And there was no danger, no bombing or nothing like that. Americans never bombed Korea. But the Japanese were very careful. But we saw American planes flying over Korea, B-29, and that the cloud they make. in the family. And some of the Koreans, I remember saying that Japanese are losing probably because they cannot shoot down that American plane. Japanese had very little or no difficulty in governing Korea and recruiting workers and soldiers from Korea. And mostly students were mobilized for work, labor, and also particularly the students, young students in the college were encouraged to volunteer to military service in Japanese army. There was some resistance, but on the whole, I think there was not much sort of trouble. The earliest remember I have is just a little bit of living in Seoul. I was probably 2 or 3 years old, and I remember train trip from Gyeongsang, Seoul, Keijo, Gyeongsang railway station to the Hanpyeong that I remember, and also, well, mostly living in Hanpyeong.
Can you remember much about the food or what you did for fun as children? What you ate, what you wore?
Yeah, but we didn't have much difficulty. I mean, it was not very luxurious life. But then 3 meals a day, but we didn't have any problem, I think, because we are landowners, I think. Do you remember the hero of Kinkakuji? He was the Japanese writer who committed suicide, Harakiri. Yeah, Mishima. No.
I can only think of Natsumi
Yeah,
Soseki, but it wasn't.
Can't remember the name. According to a hero of his novel, Kinkakuji is a pagoda in Kyoto, work of art. He set it on fire. That's a real story. I remember Greek Erostratus, who committed suicide by setting himself on fire, and he died by the immolation by fire, but at the same time destroying that work of art because he could not create that. He couldn't. What he did was destroying the work of art. The same thing happened in Japan, and this particular 그 일본에 자살한 활복한 작가 이름이 뭐죠? 미시마 유키오. 미시마. The hero of that novel remembers the day he was born. He could remember a sunshine reflecting on the bath water which was prepared to give birth to the child. But I think that's not, I do not know that's possible. Do you remember that? You remember?
I don't remember my bath water when I was born. I remember they used to bath me in the sink at my grandmother's house.
In the sink?
In the sink. In the kitchen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was that?
In Dover.
Dover?
Yeah, south of England.
That's in UK?
Yes.
Wow. Oh. I didn't know you are from.
Could you tell me something about your father? You were showing me pictures up here growing up. Could you say something about your father?
No, we never talked about that. Right. I mean, that we learned much later that my father, he was just our father, but normal. His nickname was English Gentleman. After that, he was one of the 3 who represented Korean Provisional Government in Moscow, the Far East Revolutionaries Conference, 1922 or 21, and he met Lenin. Yeah, well, very briefly, I think, large gatherings, I guess. But he had one of the 3. One was Kim Gyu-sik. You remember Kim Gyu-sik and Yeo Eun-hyung?
Yeah.
And the third one, representing the youth of Korea, was my father was in his early 20s, and he was one of the three representatives. But there were other Koreans in the conference, and he had a great expectation about communism and the real sort of revolution which can change the fate and history of mankind. But he came back very severely, sort of, disillusioned by what happened. And then later I once asked him, why was he so much sort of disillusioned? His sort of disappointment, great disappointment, also a kind of, he was very angry, seeing the realities of Soviet Union at that time, mainly Moscow and some other provinces. So that the people were suffering. That's very hard life, nothing to eat. And I do not know whether I could believe him or not. But then they even gathered some mud, earth, rich with the foliage in the wood, nutritious, the soil, earth, and mixed it together with the flour, and then bake the bread. So bread was like a stone, difficult. And that Yeon-hyun, in his biography, remembers that the Russians brought bread, but they could not break it. They needed axe to break it. So probably my father was right, and it's so hard to eat. But then they were never concerned, never serious about sufferings of the people, because they were all sort of very high on the dream of the realizing the heaven on earth, real idealistic society on earth. So they said people have to suffer, and they have to be sacrificed for our very high and the noble ideas of realizing heaven on earth for the first time in human history. And another thing, my father was particularly angry about the ease with which they kill people, not just one or two, but by tens and hundreds overnight. And they openly admit that some people are innocent, but they do not have the time to correctly investigate who are the criminals and who are the political prisoners. And they again maintain that some sacrifices are justified to build idealistic society, a utopia for the first time in human history. So he had sometimes he engaged in very hard discussions or controversy with the Bolsheviks. And when they were really angry, they drew pistols. You are reactionaries. You are from the landlording class, and you are reactionaries. You should be killed too. 3 times he faced that kind of, and he came back. He returned completely disillusioned about communism. So all hope was gone. One this, even Korea become independence, just independence, but after independence, what we should do. And his mentor was Ahn Chang Ho. Ahn Chang Ho sort of arranged him to go to England and study there. And they said that working in Provisional Government of Korea in Shanghai, that will not do much good for you. And doing this kind of work will never achieve our independence. And even after the independence of the Korea, we need educated people. People need education. So he went to England and stayed there for 6 years, 7 years, something like that. He was completely sort of bought by, persuaded by the British English way of doing things. And he was most impressed by an election, a scene in election, two contenders, to the rivals engaged in heated sort of campaign, criticizing each other, and the emotions ran very high. So he was curious what would happen. And when the election day was over, and the loser went up to the winner and congratulated him. Yeah, you lucky devil. That's what I still remember. My father quoted. He said, "You lucky devil," and they shook hands, laughing, and he was most impressed by that. For 500 years, in what you saw, and what we was very proud of, the most highly sort of civilized, the kingdom of Korea. We never did that. When we win power, we sort of the winner sort of slaughtered, killed or imprisoned the losers, and even their families, the women members of the family were taken as their servant or their sort of things. But here is a way of engaging in politics in UK, and he remained Anglophile throughout his life. After his death, they set up a prize, the Baekbong Gentlemanship Prize for the members of the parliament. Each year we select the best behaved members of the family, members of the parliament, and the award, we give them award with the title of Baekbong Gentleman.
It's getting harder to find best behaved ones, I think, these days.
That was a counter argument. Some put up when we were starting there. And one Lee Man-sub was a speaker. Was he said that, is there any gentleman in Korean parliament? There are gangsters. So instead of a gentlemanship award, we should set up gangster award. And I said, the prize is not necessarily sort of recognizing the gentleman-like behavior, but encouraging people to act more like a gentleman in the future. And that was my argument for. And it is last year it was 27th.
Wow.
We will continue.
That's
We'll
fantastic.
go on with that. Now, what other?
Can you say something about religion or how that's played religion?
My religion.
Or has religion played a role in
family
this
is
because
Catholic.
of
All of my family is Catholic, and we yes, I still remain Catholic. Not very good Catholic, but more like agnostics. But I have 4 children. And the 3 of them became Protestant. So I think that's
Something
a good
happened.
thing. At least that's a good thing. That means that they think. They think and they can act. So I didn't. It was compulsory for them to go to church every Sunday until they graduated from high school. After that, it was up to them to decide whether to remain a Christian or choose any particular denomination, and that's up to them. And the 3 of them became Protestant, but one still remains faithful to Catholicism.
It's very interesting to me, the arrival of Christianity on the Korean Peninsula, Catholicism and Protestantism, the effect it had on the Provisional Government and the March First movement. It seems to have been very powerful then.
March First movement. Yes. But it was mostly, I remember writing dissertations about relations between religion and politics in Korea, and Donghak Rebellion, you know that. The religion is very important. It used to be very important in Korea. And also March First movement is mostly religious leaders. And I looked into the catechism, the doctrine, if any, the doctrine of religious has something to do with the political movement. The Donghak has that. But what about March First movement? The important thing was the religious organization was instrumental in organizing the massive political protest or political revolt, that kind of things.
For those that don't know, can you say something about the Donghak peasant uprising?
Yes, yes. My family, well, that was long before I was born, but my grandfather studied in the same Sedang, same school with Chun Bong-jun.
Wow.
And the Chun Bong-jun was the Chanban. Chanban class is not Yangban, it's not Yangban, but somehow they became more like a common people, because the members of the family never won any high sort of offices for 3 generations. Then they Chanban means, do you know this vocabulary? Chanban is what was that? A Yangban degraded. I mean Yangban, but they are not common people, but sort of in between.
Fallen.
And this class became very rich source of revolt against the ruling class. And Chun Bong-jun was, and Choi Jae-woo, Choi Si-young was all sort of Chanban class people.
South Korea took a long time to eventually become a democracy.
Yeah,
it went through many decades. Living through that period and seeing that period. Do you have any observations, sir, about living through, experiencing sort of these 50s and the 60s and the 70s of path towards?
Yes, among democracies, so liberal democracy, and that has become the liberal democracy has become way of life, I think, in Korea. It's not limited to the sphere of politics. And yes, I think it will be extremely difficult for the Koreans to go back to the authoritarian government. And one of the reasons why North Korea suddenly changed their sort of a platform, and they are saying that we are not the same race, same people, it's completely different, 2 different states, means that they have given up about the changing the South Korean population to be like North Koreans and worshipping, respecting the great leader, etc. That will be extremely difficult now.
Now people worship and respect themselves and their freedom and their smartphones, not anybody else.
Yes, and yes, I think we made a good, wise choice, and it has become. That's not limited to the area of politics, not only Yeouido, but also in the even in the family. The younger generation, what we call Z generations, they never respect. I mean, they never sort of pay too much attention to what their fathers or grandparents did, that kind of thing.
You mentioned education. I think that's been very important for South Korea's democratization, not just as voting, but as a way of life. Is that? That seems to be related to education, I think.
Yeah, education is very important. I think I had some contacts with the Cubans, and I did some I did a cultural exchange program with Cuba, academic and cultural exchanges, and the question they raise, scholars and the officials, civil servants, they ask is that, you are the same people, North Korea and South Korea, and they were quite sort of close to North Koreans. And how was it possible that the two group of people and two different states became so much different? South Koreans are so much different from North Koreans. That's the main question. I mean, not only the economic development, but also the way people behave and the way people sort of criticize their government and that sort of things. Yeah. Well, I do not know. I mean, I cannot explain. I could not give them any sort of satisfactory answers. But then what I can what I imagine is that North Korea governed by culture of content satisfaction, and they are satisfied with, at least nominally, and at least apparently, they never complain about what they have. But the quite sort of contrary to that, South Koreans always complain about what they have. North Koreans are completely satisfied with their ruler. They are the best. They know the ruler knows everything, and the ruler is own competent. But South Koreans always find fault with whoever may become the president. They always find fault with him, and always tend to be more critical than sort of giving them any credit. Not only, but the credit or let alone praise. Whoever become the president, and they are always dissatisfied. They are not always satisfied. They are just completely sort of dissatisfied with what they have, whatever it may be, or education or money or whatever social standing. Yeah, so maybe, but that also somehow maybe that explains why there is such a high rate of suicide in South Korea. The people who commit suicide are, in my mind, to my mind, they are optimists rather than they expect a lot of things from this world. They're not pessimists, optimists, but this world does not allow them all those they look for. So they deny this world denies them what they want. So it's a double denial, denial of the world which denies them what they want, what they desire. If their level of desire is not, if they do not have such a high hope in this world, they wouldn't take their lives. I mean, pessimist, if I'm like me.
A little less desire, lower expectation.
Yeah, expectation. The level of expectation is very low, if it is that low. But Koreans seem to have a very high level of expectation of this world.
It was very interesting. I was speaking to Park Ji-hyun. She's a North Korean defector in the United Kingdom. And she told me that in North Korea, she never learned about Han, the idea of a sadness or a beautiful suffering that fills the poems and literature of Korea. She said, we don't have that in North Korea. We are happy people.
Yes.
And I was quite surprised to learn that how the education has instilled different values and ideas. So you eventually worked in very high-level politics in South Korea alongside presidents and as ambassador. How did you how did you get there? So we've talked about your early life, and I want to ask you some questions about some South Korean presidents, but there's a big gap in my mind in between how you went from a young boy in the port to working alongside that.
Sometimes I find it difficult to explain that to myself. Even before I joined Kim Dae-jung in politics, I had chances of going into politics. 전두환 period, I was offered a constituency that it became vacant, and it happened to be my sort of the place where my family had lived there for a very long time, and they asked me if they could recommend me, give the party nomination, and they could even sort of support me, the campaign fund, so help me with the money too. And I said, "Oh no, I'm not going to do that." Before that,
why did you say no? Why did you say no during the Fifth Republic?
Well, first of all, I didn't like a political life. I felt rather I felt very shy of political or public life. I'm quite happy with academic life. Another thing more important than that, I hated him. I didn't like him. I do not believe there was that many who liked Chun Doo-han, Park Chung-hee, even Park Chung-hee, I didn't like that much. Even before that, I was offered to join 국가보위위원회 국보위. Before that, when Park Chung-hee was assassinated, the president who succeeded him was 누구죠? 그때 총리하다가 최규하. I was in Paris at the time. I was invited by French Foreign Office to live in Paris for a year. It was a great opportunity for me. I had studied French a little bit, and it was a good opportunity for me to polish up my French. And I had a very good life. I was leading a happy life, enjoying Paris. And then I was called back by Choi Kyu-ha to work on, together with others, a group of people, to work on devising constitution, Yushin constitution, the devising Yushin constitution to democratic constitution, together with other. So I was called back. They recalled from France, and I was working on that. And one day in May, the Chun Doo-han staged his coup d'etat, and we were dispersed. But they offered us to join 국보위. What's the English word of 국가보위위원회, Committee for National Security, something like that.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, some of the members of those people who were working together, all of us, there were about 12 of them, political scientists and lawyers, etc. And some of them joined 국보위. Somehow that was something it's difficult to understand. But I ran away to UK. I had a fellowship from Cambridge, Churchill College, Cambridge, and I lived there for 2 years. And when I came back, I was still Chun Doo-han time, and I was offered that chance to become members of the parliament. But somehow, after that, Kim Young-sam offered me the top national security advisor position. I refused that too. And
your life is lots of no's.
Yeah, somehow I didn't like him either. And also I had been supporting Kim Dae-jung. Also, I was not active, just private. But but I refused that. And somebody who offered the job was not Kim Young-sam himself, but who was in charge of Home Affairs, Choi, can't remember, he died of cancer, and he had a doctorate from University of Hawaii, but he was military academy. He was military officer, but his doctorate, became a political scientist, and he was with Kim Young-sam, and he offered me. It was Kim Young-sam's direction that I could become his national security advisor, and I said, "Oh no, I'm not interested in politics." And he said, "Oh, don't just reject this. I will call you again in 2 or 3 days' time. Think about that." And 2 days later, he phoned me. So I said, "Oh no, I'm not doing that." Then later, several years later, he asked me, "Why were you so obstinate?" And I said, "Well, do you know Liang, the Chinese legendary wise man, the strategist,
Okay.
and a political leader, a general, called on him 3 times. He refused to meet with the general twice, and then when at 3rd visit, he agreed to serve him. I said, quoting him, I said, "If he had called me 1 more time, probably I would have accepted." You saw that 2nd time.
Yeah.
A joke, just a joke. But somehow when Kim Dae-jung sort of kept his word and completely sort of withdrew from politics, abjured, I'm not going to engage in any political activities from now on. I called him, asked to meet with him somehow. I do not know why. The thing was that, you see, in political science, perhaps your and my sort of main profession, the personalities are not that important. The statistics and more structure of the society, etc. That's important. But in real politics, persons are very important.
Yeah.
You know. And to my mind at the time, you see, liberal democracy was making a good progress so far. But what you need at that juncture was a change in government, shift in power. And to my mind, except for Kim Dae-jung, there was nobody who could realize that, who could sort of realize a change of government, which had never happened in Korean constitutional history until that time. Until Kim Young-sam, Kim Young-sam too was part of ruling party always. The same ruling party people sort of resurfaced or reorganized themselves, presented a new face, new name, and kept on ruling the government until then. And I thought, what is most important in further progress of democratization of politics and the society was change in government. And I think probably without Kim Dae-jung, there is no hope. Kim Dae-jung, very strong support from Jeolla province and also from progressive people. He had, of course, even Kim Dae-jung had a very slim chance of success. And I persuaded Kim Dae-jung to remain in public activities. And Kim Dae-jung asked me, well, I sort of abjured. I sort of gave my word to pledge. I pledged that I'm no longer. I'm not going to engage in any political activities from now on. And I told him, well, you said you are sort of withdrawing from political activities, not from public activities. There is a difference, and his face brightened up. He became, what sort of public affairs? And I said, you see, to become a good president of Korea, you need to be, at least to be a good sort of leader of Asia too. So he asked me, how do you mean? I said that Korea alone cannot achieve peace, security, democratization of the prosperity and the democratization of culture. In Asia, the dilemma, the contradictions is that there is a world top class country like Japan enjoying living standard equal to the world top countries. And also in the degree of democratization, there is such a big gap between top and the. So a good Korean political leader should be able to send his message outside of Korea, across the national boundaries and outside of Korea too. And a good Asian leader, one of the leaders of Asia, could become a more successful. So you could engage in international activities like promoting the security, democracy, and also economic prosperity of the country. Japan enjoys world top level of the consumerism. But you see, if we fly from Tokyo 2 hours into North Korea, they are dying of the famine, starvation. So that should be corrected, and that will make a better environment for Korea too. So try to become a leader of Asia, and his face brightened up, and he asked me what he should do from now on. He should be completely in. Probably he was also thinking of his own future, but I told him go away in a foreign country and stay there for some time to recover from the shock of the defeat and also plan for the past. He asked me where should he go. He already has had some offers from America, Germany, etc. So I said maybe England, because America is too close politically to Korea. And not Japan, that's again too close. And in Germany, there are large ethnic Korean community, politically sort of conscious Korean community, and they X-minus and nurses who settle down in Germany. They tend to be very critical of Korea, South Korea. So maybe England. So Cambridge, like, it's 2 hours from London, nicely sort of isolated, but still intellectually active, actively. So he trusted me, left me to organize everything. So I contacted my friends in Cambridge. They readily offered him a place, a visiting fellow. So he spent 6 months there. If we visit some of the Don's Cambridge colleges, you may find his calligraphy. He gave calligraphy to many Cambridge fellows, professors, etc. They treated him rather well. Particularly my supervisor was master of St. John's, and he frequently sort of invited him to college dinner. And the others were also very kind to him. He had a good time.
It's amazing to think how that experience of your dad seeing 2 British politicians and one saying to the other, lucky devil, might have been affecting Korean politics decades later. Can you say something about Kim Dae-jung as a man? Because obviously he's a huge South Korean political figure, not just a political, but a national figure, but on a human level?
Yes, he has John Donne, professor of political theory, King's College, Cambridge. I was very close with him, so I introduced the two men. And well, John Donne was commented on Kim Dae-jung. Kim Dae-jung has a mind of mind of a powerful, politically powerful man, ruler, governor, and also the sensitivity of an the intellectual. Yeah, he's sometimes I think you see after the liberation of Korea, 1945, there's a very high sort of enthusiasm for political activities, because Koreans never had any opportunity to directly participate in politics. The Rhee dynasty, you see, is just small group of people who are eligible for offices in Korea, and then followed by Japanese occupation. So 1945, probably first open opportunity for the Koreans to engage in politics. There was very high enthusiasm, and I think Kim Dae-jung was one of them who became involved in politics. Otherwise, he could have become an intellectual and professor, or a good businessman too. But of course, he was a good politician, good strategist. But somehow he failed. He was a good example of a failure until finally he succeeded, almost miraculous. And when Kim Dae-jung came back to Korea, returned after 6 months at Cambridge, he started, as I advised him, and he wanted me to work with him too. Of course, he was not in politics, but in public activities, gave him a good theater of activities, place, opportunities to sort of make a speech. Also, we ran a small school too. So, but of course, Kim Il-sung government didn't like it, but somehow, but after several years, he finally sort of he went back to but somehow, you see, about 80%, no, more than 80% of Korean political scientists thought that Kim Dae-jung was completely sort of a failure, no chance of his returning to politics. That was those scholars who used to be close to him thought that Kim Dae-jung was hopeless. And I still thought he had some hope of, had hope for another chance.
This is those low expectations again, sir. You keep it like that.
Right.
What did his presidential victory mean for the country? Did it change things? I mean, this was the
yes, quite a lot.
Yeah.
And he was lucky. It was unhappy period for Korea. You see, still large number of the Korean population did not trust Kim Dae-jung.
Because of communism or other reasons?
Yes. Communism or leftist, populist, the not untrustworthy or that sort of things. But then things started changing. There was a big crisis, what we call IMF crisis. It is not IMF crisis. IMF came as a relief. We call it IMF crisis.
I am fired crisis.
Yes,
was the sign.
Yes, ruling class. They have been their sort of platform was that they made Korea sort of economically developed, and also the national security. Kim Dae-jung couldn't be trusted with Korea, but then with a certain level of economic development, national security, the military defense against North Korea, lost some of its ground. North Korea was so poor. and they couldn't pose the security threat to South Korea. And also another pillar of the support for the conservatives was economic development. But yeah, that IMF crisis was a good chance for Kim Dae-jung. And another thing was that Kim Dae-jung, that was my advice, the traditional strategy of the governing group was regional alliances, Yeongnam province in the west, and also a part of western province, Chungcheong Nambuk-do. In their alliances, Honam is completely sort of isolated. So my advice was to break them and make an alliance with the Chungcheong people. And there was some opposition from Kim Dae-jung's party that Chungcheong people is like Kim Jong-pil, was more or less like Park Chung-hee, Yushin.
Kingmaker.
Yeah. Yes, kingmaker, Yushin people, and mostly very conservative. But somehow the government party made a mistake of expelling Kim Dae-jung from their parties. Wow. Yes. Though gave us a chance. There was some resistance from people around Kim Dae-jung, but I persuaded that you need to be the president to realize your ideas, and to you need made some sacrifices in the cause, and somehow and the alliance was made possible. Kim Dae-jung and later Park Tae-jun to join in, but it was still a very difficult issue. My strategy, my advice to Kim Dae-jung was that we should appear not victorious, not triumphant, but sort of weaker and losing, to give the impression to the ruling party that they could easily win the election. And we should pretend, we shouldn't be boastful. We shouldn't sort of boast our strengths and that sort of thing. We should always tell them in our personal context that we didn't stand much a chance and probably we lose again. And I think this also gave the government party some satisfaction.
I was quite impressed when Kim Dae-jung, to his inauguration, alongside Michael Jackson, he invited the previous presidents.
Yes.
Kim Yong-sam, even Chun Do-won, No Tae-woo, who had carried out attacks on him.
Strategy. Of course, magnanimity is very generous of him, but also a good tactic too, because somehow they could sort of soften the resistance. They were very powerful people, but they lost the power. They lost the presidency, but still very powerful. So you have to make some peace with them too. Yeah, that was, yes, that was a very good move. But also, you see, there is a saying in Korea, you have to sort of pursue even a mice. You have to corner, you should not corner even a mouse to the really desperate, yeah, to despair. And then they could fight back and do still very powerful people, both in government and in the society. So I think it was a good tactic too.
What did you think of his openness towards North Korea with the Sunshine Policy and the 2000 summit? Because that was quite monumental in Korea, perhaps.
Yes, his work that during while he was in Cambridge, he called me to Cambridge once in every week. So I had to go there. I have to miss my lecture, my class on many occasions. I have to spend an extra time to make up for the lost lectures. Mostly we discuss sunshine policy, and I have a little bit of a difference. His sunshine policy, the, the clue came from the Aesopian fable, you know, and I think that's not quite right, because sunshine policy is a good, nice name, but it will appear to North Koreans as a strategic move to force them, to persuade them, somehow to lead them to take their coat off, defenseless. And what if we take sunshine away after they have taken their coats off? They wouldn't be able to pick up their coat and put it on again. So I offered him another choice, the gospel according to Mark. Mark is 5:45, and then God's sunshine. God, I think that's one of the chief message from Christ, that you see, the God does not discriminate against anybody in giving sunshine, blessing of sunshine. He gives sunshine to everybody, regardless of whether he is a good man, bad man, or Jews, or the pagans, whatever. So forget about Aesop, and then quote from Mark, Gospel according to Mark. He agreed. And another of my advice was that the unification, process of unification, as well as the ultimate goal of unification should not be political. It should be human affairs. That throughout the process, we do not aim at political gains, but we aim at improving human predicament, starting from food, like medical aid, chances of educations, and wider choices for giving wider range of choices to people, whatever it may be, occupation, the private life, finding their partners in marriage, etc., living in the foreign countries, etc., wider ranges of activities. And that should be widening that, improving human welfare and giving better chances for their life should be process of unification as well as ultimate objective of unification. So it's not political nature, process of unification as well as the ultimate unification itself should not be political problem. Unlike Prussian unification of Germany, I think it was the unification of Germany in the latter half of the 19th century was a great political achievement, ultimately proved to be a great misfortune for the German people. So Germany became a great power. Its economy surpassed that of England in the end of the 19th century. But look at German people, how they suffered during so many wars. Was unification also high? I mean, my personal thinking is that Germany remained in a different parts and somehow making peace with the other countries, or else Germany should have been occupied by a different part of Germany, like Bavaria, or like Munich, people like that. And also the Meiji Restoration, also the Japan as a state, it may be a big achievement, but more Japanese people happy because of the great political achievements. Japanese people suffered a lot, even before the Pacific War. It's a continuation of war. Japanese-Chinese war, Japanese war, and also in the process of unification, they fought themselves fiercely. And then the Pacific War to Chinese War later, and also the Pacific War, Japanese people suffered a lot. So we shouldn't aim at that kind of unification. And Kim Dae-jung agreed. My advice was that we should abstain from big political movement like a summit meeting and a political sort of political propaganda, political public sort of propaganda that we are doing great thing and making the country. The North Koreans will take alarm at that because they will be losing the process. So we keep it sort of we shouldn't, at least for 10 years, we should not sort of widely publicize on the engagement with North Korea. And we secretly, at least without any fanfare, without any publicity, we negotiate with the North Korean government how many food they need for a year. Then we include it our national budget, and then secretly give, without much publicity, we give the food to North Korean, also the North Korean government, and also medical treatment and that kind of things. And if they develop, we keep on doing this for at least 10 years. And when both countries, the large number of populations were sort of accustomed to with one another, then politics could come in later. That was my idea of sunshine policy. And I thought Kim Dae-jung agreed with me too. But then when he became president, he summit meeting, and North Korea wanted the money and all that. And we, of course, helped North Korea, engaged North Korea, which was not bad at all. But then there was a limit, I think. If politics is involved, there's a conflict. And Kim Dae-jung was very much disappointed at the end of his presidency because he trusted Kim Jong-un's promise. Kim Dae-jung would pay return visit to South Korea. I told him that's probably hopeless, Kim, but he trusted as a promise of Kim Jong-il. But how could Kim Jong-il could have come to South Korea? I told Kim Dae-jung that if Kim Jong-il comes to South Korea, it will be only under two conditions. He could come as a victorious, as a victor, vanquishing South Korea, conqueror of South Korea. He could come. Secondly, he could come as a great benefactor to the South Korean people, giving a big sort of big things South Koreans want, like what? Like sort of completely freeing contact between the two countries. Separated families can visit each other freely. Mail, the liberating, freeing, so the mail services, that sort of things. If we come with that kind of gift, he will be welcome in South Korea, and he could enjoy that. But otherwise, he could never come to South Korea. But Kim Dae-jung seems to the very end, he believed that. He said at the end of his autobiography, he was greatly disappointed and also angry. And at the end of his presidency, he sent a large number of about 30 delegations to North Korea with his private letter personal letter to Kim Dae-jung, Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-un didn't even meet with him. And he didn't receive the letter. I mean, it was given to Chang Sung-taek. And Chang Sung-taek told them that this personal sort of personal invoice selected and sent by Kim Dae-jung himself. But Kim Jong-il never met him. Chang Sung-taek told him that Kim Jong-il was very busy. He was very busy. He couldn't meet with you. but he gave them a big party. He gave them lots of the alcohol. Some of them vomited and threw up too much alcohol. So there was no discussion of sort of keeping his promise of paying a return visit to South Korea, let alone nuclear weapons.
That was quite a hard time for North Korea as well, I think, with the passing of Kim Il-sung, the North Korean famine, the new leadership, Kim Jong-il trying to establish himself. Did you have any interactions with the North Korean leadership on like a human level, a personal level?
No. I was in charge of North Korea. One of my responsibility in NIS was North Korea. So I have contacts, but I never said, I myself never visited. It's my people. They had sort of frequent contacts with the North Koreans. Yes, I went to North Korea on several occasions, but not on any official mission. Yeah.
On the before we move perhaps to Roh Moo-hyun, recently I've seen about Kim Dae-jung, there seems to be, and I say respectfully, some criticism for the IMF liberalization, the policies of South Korea, that sort of, we've seen this growing economic disparity.
In South Korea?
In South Korea, from the Kim Dae-jung implementing the IMF policies.
I do not think so. No, that was, it's difficult to think. Yes, that's, I mean, even Kim Dae-jung couldn't do that. I mean, you remember when Kim Dae-jung was receiving Nobel Peace Prize, the trade union leaders went there to stage a demonstration protesting against that.
Korean politics,
yeah. Kim Dae-jung was not very popular with the trade unions, but for economic recovery, I think that was the inevitable.
After Kim Dae-jung came Roh Moo-hyun, and you stayed. But you didn't say no to Roh Moo-hyun.
That was a little bit different because I supported Roh Moo-hyun when his position was very weak, and practically there were not many who thought Roh Moo-hyun was a good candidate for presidency. The reason I supported Roh Moo-hyun was a little bit different. You see, Roh Moo-hyun represented. Roh Moo-hyun was a very unlikely presidential candidate. In the later period of Kim Il-sung presidency, there was no American ambassador, and the minister, can't remember. He was a Peace Corps in Mokpo stationed, and he was acting sort of charge. I was very close with him. He had a Korean wife too, and he once invited me to a dinner. It's a social dinner, and couples, wives, etc. And he was throwing a big party. He invited me to the dinner, and I asked, could I bring a very important man to the dinner too? And who is that? And I said, this is Roh Moo-hyun. And he asked, who is Roh Moo-hyun? And I said, I think he may become next president of Korea. And he took it as a joke. So I took Roh Moo-hyun and his wife to, that was his very first time to visit American embassy, the residence, of course. And during the dinner, when the dinner was just starting, I said, I have a little sort of the speech to make. Today I brought a guest couple, and you'd better take a good notice of the couple, because they will be the first couple in 2 years' time. And they all laughed. And there was one of the guests was Ryu Jin. Do you know Ryu Jin? Pungsan, the chairman of Pungsan. Ryu Jin is now president of Korean Businessmen's Association.
Okay.
Pungsan 금속 metal produces ammunition, military. Ryu Jin was there. He was very close to Bush family. He still is very famous, very, very close. They all laughed. They thought it was a joke. But Ryu Jin called me to London. I was ambassador at that time in London. And he said, how did you know? He said, I said, what? Did you know what? Did I know what? That the Roh Moo-hyun would become the ex-president of Korea. So why are you telling me that? He said that, oh, he just became officially nominated the candidate for the next presidential election, and he may win. And I said, oh, I've studied political science for the past several decades.
So trust me.
Yeah, you could trust me. And he was really sort of impressed by that. But the reason I sort of supported him, he used to come to see me quite often, Roh Moo-hyun. I was his sort of secret kind of mentor. And it was like mentor-student relations at the time. And the reason I supported him was that not many people thought of that. He represented a group of people, a large group of people who was alienated, depressed, and underprivileged, depressed, and even suffered since establishment of Republic of Korea. You see, Republic of Korea, when Syngman Rhee sort of very strongly sort of pressed for that, didn't enjoy majority of support for that. Ideological train was that the leftist was in the majority, I think, than the rightist. Right, and the leftist was mostly against establishment of a separate government in South Korea. Some of them rebelled, and some of them engaged in armed sort of struggle against the setting up separate government in South Korea. The right was not united. It was split into two. Kim-gu faction was against that. So you see, the thinking only in terms of ideological train of Korea at that time. Korea was built upon 1/4 of the population support of ideological, not in numbers, but ideological structure of Korea. So the large number of people were alienated from the government, persecuted, and disqualified. I think if Republic of Korea would be on a good footing, these people, alienated and the underprivileged, this group should be given a chance to govern the country, to be able to incorporate them into the South Korean political system. If you should not leave them away from the power. I think the best way was to give a chance to Roh Moo-hyun when the country was doing well. So that was my reason, and I didn't talk about this. But people thought I was a little bit odd to support unlikely candidate. But I thought this was about time. One of the things I admire about England was giving a chance to the laborers. to be in power. So Ramsey MacDonald government, that was 1921 or what? I don't know. I do not remember. Stanley Baldwin was the prime minister, and the election was, there is no clear winner. But somehow the Labour Party was given a chance to form a government. They were still in minority. And very quickly, Ramsay MacDonald government became very, very sort of moderate. Yeah. But I didn't explain this to people around myself. Then, but I think I did a good thing. And that was about time that these people should be in power too. And Kim Dae-jung appointed me to, sent me to UK as ambassador. But Roh Moo-hyun didn't like it. Roh Moo-hyun wanted me to stay on and support him in the campaign. But I said, I recommended some of my people, and but the temptation of London was too strong, and I told him I could help you, even when I was in London, and I did. The mission Kim Dae-jung gave me, sending me to London, was to arrange a summit meeting with Tony Blair, as soon as possible. And I knew, Kim Dae-jung didn't tell me, but I knew why he chose me as the ambassador to London, and why he wanted to have a meeting with Tony Blair. His sunshine policy was in a danger, because Clinton's successor, Clinton was understanding, but Bush, you remember that,
axis of evil.
Anything but Clinton. Bush didn't understand that, or was even cynical, or even sort of not favorably disposed to sunshine policy. Kim Dae-jung wanted to enlist the support of Blair. I thought that was not good move. Blair wouldn't move to help Kim Dae-jung. Blair has his own agenda. Of course, they were very close.
Yeah.
But Blair was not interested in sunshine policy, etc. I think it would be waste of time. But I didn't sort of raise this. And I tried hard. But British Foreign Office, you see, these the mostly very difficult people. They wouldn't easily oblige me. They wouldn't be sort of helpful. Why does Kim Dae-jung want to see Blair? So I couldn't tell them that he wanted to enlist this support for his society, that Blair wouldn't like to meet with Kim Dae-jung. I said some other things, North Korean problem, etc. But Foreign Office wouldn't move. Foreign Office said that, if that is the problem, the two foreign officers could tackle that sort of things. But Kim Dae-jung kept on pressing me to organize that meeting as early as possible.
What was Roh Moo-hyun like as a person? Probably you've sat with him like this. You said you was his mentor.
Yeah.
As a human, what was he like? How did
he was honest. I mean, as honest as possible as a politician. But he didn't try to hide himself that much. I mean, you could see if a politician tries to hide his motive and intentions, etc. You could recognize that. But to the standard of Korean of the politician, Roh Moo-hyun was very straightforward. And he said, I wanted to be president of Korea. Please help me. And it was like a tutor-student relations. But I tried to be of help to him. And yes, he was. But after he became president, of course, the relations are different.
Things change when people become presidents, it seems. They're right. When people become presidents,
yes, of course. I mean,
their ideas, their decisions.
Yeah. And he has to too.
Yeah.
It's a way sort of a different thing to be a candidate to the presidency and the real president.
I think the divide between the left and right, listening to you, Sarah, I've noticed two things at least. One is that you seem to respect and value the underdog or the underprivileged or those that don't have the spotlight. I think that's very noble. The second thing is that you're willing to say no to power. Sometimes you're willing to do that. I think that's very, it's very nice to hear. If you look at the landscape of Korean politics, the left and the right, the Yodang, the Yadang, the ruling and the opposition. Do you have a vision of what that line is? Because I think that line is different in different countries.
Yeah.
What
I
is that
do not
line?
know. I mean, left-right, the categorization is quite common in sort of the analysis and understanding of politics. And now I'm a little bit confused about that. What is right and what is left? Leftist, in the Korean context, sympathetic to North Korea. That's one of the criteria of the left, or more security mind. That's the right. But I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I mean, that's still applicable to the extreme part of the both camp, each camp. But you see, a useful instrument, useful concept to analyze or understand Korean politics, left-right differentiation. I'm not quite sure, and I do not know how to sort of define who is right and who is left, because among other things, the politicians, particularly Korean politicians, seems to change quite easily their policy line, and sometimes they change their line of policies in the name of the pragmatism and in the name of the necessity of the reality, necessity of the
and minshim sometimes.
And the minshim is something you can always press to your service whenever you need that.
Are you hopeful for the future of Korean politics? We've talked about a lot of turbulence and a lot of success.
I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
I'm always an optimist about most of the things. And the basis of my optimism about Koreans are very inventive, ingenious. You see, do you know how many cheer words in Korea? Cheer, I mean, what do you say? You know?
응원하다, cheer.
Yeah. And another thing is, when you toast, when you make a toast, you say, what do you say to your health or?
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Do you know how many are there Korean words? Several thousand. I think more than several thousand, tens of thousands. Because depending on the particular situation, particular circumstances or situation of the gathering, they find out a good cheer word on the spot. But most of the countries, they have fixed ones like like chairs or Gesundheit.
Sante.
Yeah, Sancte, Voto Sancte, Avoto Sancte. Or,
do you have a favorite cheers word in Korean? It's different for all the situations you've said, but is there one that you come back to more often than not?
No, I'm not that inventive, but somehow Koreans always sort of adaptive to. Yes, the economy, North-South relations, and the politics is not such a good shape in Korea now. But I think somehow we'll sort of struggle out of this impasse. The situations in my childhood, in my youth, was much worse than now. But somehow, I think Korea, what they say, Korea is the only country, the newly independent state after World War II, the only country which made political or economic success. And now from aid receiving country, Korea has become aid giving country. That this is pretty difficult situation now, but I think Koreans will somehow wriggle or manage out of this impasse.
But I think it's right to be proud of everything that Korea has achieved and its position in the world now, where people want to, as you say, they want to come to Korea and they want to learn more about it, and it's cool now. Korea is cool.
Yes. I'm quite sort of impressed by the sudden sort of the boom of the K-pop and literally in films and dramas, etc. Yes. It's Korean Renaissance, I think.
It's wonderful to see Hangang win Nobel Prizes, Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook, and these filmmakers do amazing
so
things.
Many others too.
Yeah. What have you learned over your life? What message, what have you learned? What message or what idea, what wisdom do you think that we today need to know more of? You've spoken a lot about humility, helping people. You've spoken about the underdogs and saying no. What message or lesson do you hope that people of Korea today will learn?
Yeah, compassion. Yes. Compassion not only reserved for underdogs, but also for the successful too. They need some sort of compassion. They are hated, criticized, and even despised. But somehow we should extend some compassion, sympathy to those who are successful, not only in the economics, but also in politics and also in other achievements like literature. And in one of the things I regret about Korea is that when somebody becomes successful, he becomes immediately an object of sort of hate, sort of hatred and the yes,
Public attack.
yes. And you see, sometimes you could sympathize with those successful, how much they must have sacrificed their sort of other pursuits. And it is damn difficult to be successful in this world too. So we have to be able to keep some sort of a little room, small room for compassion.
I think that's the Gospel of Mark speaking again, isn't it? The light that shines on everybody, perhaps. Just if you could write one last book, if you wrote one last book, what would it be about? What would you want to explore? Because you've written many and we've done some signings of your book. I have another one in my bag. If there was one more, what would it be, sir?
Yes, Yeah, I wanted to write a book based upon Korean mythology. Yes, Korea has very rich sort of reservoir of very, very rich sort of the legacy of Koreans are great storytellers and the story listeners. That I don't know if you have the same thing in the West. In the Rhee dynasty, in the pre-modern Korea, there was a profession. Oh, India, they must have had that. Yeah, reading. Yeah, yes, storytelling in the streets. We had the same thing in Korea. The telling stories. They were sometimes they were enormously popular. And people gather around him, gave him some money, and he used to talk stories. There are so many stories in Korea, and the Korean the Chang, the Pansori. So about a story, making good stories about Simcheongjeon, Hungbujeon, and you know the story of Three Kingdom, Chinese classic novels. But we have a Chang. We have a it's opera. Chang is really opera, but we don't have orchestra. And we have a number of characters, a large number of characters on the stage. The singer, one single singer, does so many parts, several tens of parts. He enacts all these characters just by himself. Instead of orchestra, you have one-man drama, and that works as an orchestra. And there is a 적벽가. Did you listen to that? 적벽가 is 삼국지, is story of 삼국지.
Okay.
And I think that's much better than the whole Chinese novels. The reason is that in 적벽가, did you listen to that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah. 적벽가 is about a battle, a big battle between three kingdoms. So the three of kingdoms were engaged in a big battle in certain river of Korea. And you see, the whole story of 삼국지, the story of three kingdoms, there was no mention about soldiers. They were great warriors and great clever strategies, etc. But nothing about soldiers. But in the Korean 적벽가, there was the large part was devoted to common foot soldiers who are engaged in, mostly they were mobilized by force, pressed into military services, and the night before a big battle starts, they worry about their family left behind, and so many different things. One soldier was just married, and in the first night he was dragged out of bridal bedroom, and he was sort of conscripted to the wall, and he was worried about his bride left behind. The marriage was not consummated even, and he was worried about some soldiers were worried about them, about his parents, older parents, waiting for him to return. And if I die tomorrow, who will look after my parents? And those sort of things. It's great, very moving. 삼국지 is a good novel, but 적벽가 is really nice.
Okay.
Listen, you understand the Koreans.
We don't have as many myths in modern society. I've always thought we have lots of statistics and data and graphs and analysis, but we've lost the myths. We've lost the stories of the things that used to inspire us. I think that's kind of sad. To close out, sir, do you have any other recommendations of books, movies, music, things that people should read, things that people should listen to or watch?
was just reading a book, very thick book about the end of Soviet Union. You know, how it ended. Yes, that was very interesting. Very well researched. And I have a memory of the Soviet Union toward its end. I lived in Soviet Union for a month at the end of 1970s, 1979. It's a great opportunity. It was very, it's, what happened was that there was an International Political Science Association Congress in Moscow in the summer of 1979, and the Brezhnev government was very anxious to invite that congregation to Moscow, and the organization negotiated with Moscow that Moscow should give a pledge to its word that anybody who is presenting a paper in the conference should be given visa. And the Soviet Union accepted that. So I found out in the I wrote
Write a paper quickly.
to there's no Soviet mission in Seoul, so just in Tokyo, and submitted there. They wouldn't believe it, but they sent it in the letter, the periodicals, and it took 6 months to get a visa. They finally accepted it, so I had a chance to be in the conference, and I thought, and I stayed on even after the conference was over. I stayed on for a month, traveling all around, including Kiev. This Kyiv is called Kyiv, but at the time it was we called it Kiev instead of Kyiv.
Yeah.
And the other parts of Korea, of course, the Leningrad too. And my impression was that this was declining system. It's going down unless it sort of the practices. It's starts a very radical reform, which was not very feasible, which was not. So I think this system was going down, and it did. In about 10 years' time, a great crisis, and then finally collapsed. That was, yeah, that, and the book I was reading, I just almost finished it now, and how the leadership of the Soviet Union tried to implement some reform and some, and they were confused. I think the problem is not responsibility. It's not, we shouldn't, it's difficult to blame the people like Gorbachev, because accumulated problems over so many years was too daunting. I think it was too much for a group of politicians to yeah, that is and it's recommendable, I mean, to anybody. North Korea too. I do not know how they would be able to sort of normalize their politics and the society without incurring the great sort of catastrophic damage to themselves and also to the others. I mean, yes. But again, I remain optimistic somehow. It will be solved.
Yeah.
Not too much sacrifice, I hope. Yeah, I'm interested in old Korean folk tales. Samguk Yusa, they have my little sort of fairy tales are from that. And that was okay.
Was I say Thank you for your compassion and your optimism and sharing all your stories today. It's been wonderful speaking with you. And thank you very much.
Wow. So
Finished.
Yes, very
Please
good.
relax.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing the stories.
Yeah, I was afraid it will go endless.
It could do, I think, but I'm worried about my Sajang. He has another appointment.
Thank you very much. Yes.